Yo, what's going on, guys? So it's been a really long time since I made a Diablo 3 video, and that's mainly because there hasn't been any content to cover in a very long time. The meta's been stagnant for about a year with no changes. But we have received an announcement that a PTR patch is coming out for the next season of Diablo 3 with a bunch of changes. Now, a lot of these changes are just going to be increases in numbers on the sets. You know, just this set is going to deal 2x more damage, 3x more damage, things like that. And I know there's going to be a ton of hate on this patch in general, especially after the entire BlizzCon fiasco. And, you know, I know I haven't made a video about the whole BlizzCon thing, and I don't plan to at this point. There's enough video content out there, people basically having a lot of the same opinions that I have. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are very unhappy with BlizzCon and how all that turned out, and as am I. I mean, you guys that know me, trust me, I was not happy either. But with that said, if you can look past that and then really actually look at what they're trying to do with this patch, even if it was rushed out, they really are trying to balance the game from the looks of things to a point where it's going to be much more fun to play with a much less stagnant meta. So let's go ahead and go through this. Now, I'm not going to go over every single buff for every class. We'll look at like the quality of life stuff, all the stuff that kind of applies to everybody, and then we'll go over the witch doctor stuff, and then what I think as far as how this patch is going to affect the meta, affect XP runs, affect solo play, all that kind of stuff. So first off, quality of life changes. The philosophy for this patch, we wanted to include a few frequently requested quality of life changes and focus on better celebrating and indicating Primal Legendary drops. So 5 additional armory tabs. So we'll be able to, you guys that like to play multiple builds, you'll have even more options as far as switching in between builds. Greater Rift keystones are now stored in the materials tab. Any existing Greater Rift keystones in both inventory and stash have been automatically moved. So this is a really nice change. I'm sure a lot of you guys have ran into that problem where you switch to an alt and you're getting ready to go do a Greater Rift, and then you realize, oh crap, all of my keys are on my other character. Then you got to log back over, grab your keys, put them in your stash, and then you're good to go. With this change, they'll just be in your materials tab and you'll be good to go. So the Primal Legendaries change. Primal Legendaries are now marked by a red beam when they drop. Primal Legendaries on the ground are now indicated by a red pentagram icon on the mini-map. And Primal Legendaries now have a red border and updated background on their icons. So I'm looking at this change and I'm thinking back to like the very early days of Diablo when Legendaries very rarely dropped. And when you saw that beam, when you saw that Legendary drop, you got excited. You got a dopamine release from that. And I think we might have a little bit of that with this Primal Legendary change. You know, actually seeing the red beam drop, that's going to be exciting. That's way more exciting than just picking up a normal Legendary and then going to your inventory to ID it to see if it's Primal. This way you know, as soon as that item drops, that's a Primal. With this change, they're getting rid of the ability to change your Paragon points in a Greater Rift, which is a ridiculous mechanic in the first place. You know, it wasn't intended ever, and people used macros to basically have a ton of toughness at certain points in the Rift and then be able to switch over to all DPS very quickly at a push of a button. So they're going to get rid of all that. So as far as the Season 16 theme, we're actually getting a decent theme. The buff is Season of Grandeur. So this buff gives all seasonal players the legendary power from Ring of Royal Grandeur. This buff does not stack with additional Rings of Royal Grandeur, either equipped or in the Kanai's Cube. Unlike previous seasonal buffs, this buff will not apply to non-seasonal players. So this is very interesting. I mean, we're going to have a lot of build options here, not needing to run Ring of Royal Grandeur. Basically, every class is going to be running 5 pieces of their set, or, you know, some like the Demon Hunter builds and some other builds that run like a 4-piece here, you know, and a 6-piece there, stuff like that. I'm not super excited about this, but again, at least it's not them just doubling something. So class set changes, which is what we really want to get into here, and what's really going to dictate how fun this next season is. We're taking another tuning pass across all class sets to improve class and set diversity at higher level Greater Rifts. Please note that these values are not final, and we anticipate some adjustments to occur during the course of PTR. So Blizzard historically, when they bring out a PTR for Diablo 3, they overtune the crap out of everything and then dial it back over the course of the PTR. Now, I don't know how much time we're going to have with this PTR compared to what we used to get. So There may not be as much tuning as normal, but just keep that in mind. These numbers are not final. But if you look through here, I mean, like everything pretty much has just been buffed at least 2 to 4 times, and some things 5 times even. And that's the majority of sets. But basically what they're doing here is they're buffing all of the weaker sets. All of the really OP stuff, they're not buffing. So they're not buffing Khans for Condemned Crusaders. They're not buffing Pestilence for Necromancer. Things like that. The sets that are already performing extremely well, they aren't buffing. Rathma's not being buffed. But they're bringing everything else up to those power levels. And so what this hopefully will do is give us a really nice XP farming meta. The top tier meta for pushing gems and really pushing 4-mans, that may stay the same or get tweaked a little bit. But as far as XP farming, which is, let's be honest, the majority of what you do in Diablo 3, you're doing a ton of XP farming all the time. You should be able to just kind of mix and match classes and sets at this point. You know, if everything gets tuned enough and is powerful enough to where rat runs are just not efficient, you can do it faster with other sets and go higher and all that stuff, then this should be a fantastic patch. I mean, just think about being able to just jump into a level 100 Greater Rift for XP with your buddies, and you can run whatever set you want to. You can be a Jade Harvester Witch Doctor, you can be a Might of the Earth Barbarian, you can be a Roland's Legacy Crusader, whatever you want. That's the kind of build diversity that we've been looking for from Diablo 3 for a very long time. Now, obviously, in games like this, everybody always finds a perfect setup for doing certain things. You're going to find that setup that's absolutely the best, and it obviously is the best. And typically, that's always going to happen. But I still think for the majority of players, if this patch goes live similar to what the buffs are looking like right now, when the PTR drops tomorrow, there's going to be a lot more build diversity for XP runs. And on top of that, most builds should be able to do around a level 100 GR solo pretty quick. And so you have a little bit more of an option as far as solo play too there, which is really nice. Because, you know, at the moment, if you want to go do a high level solo run quickly, you got to just pick very specific builds, you know. Condemned Crusaders can do it really quick. Pestilence, Necros, like I already mentioned. Classes like that and sets like that. And the majority of other sets just fall by the wayside because they're just not powerful enough. So the change that I'm most excited for is the Legacy of Nightmares buff. Now, a lot of people may not agree with this, but I've been wanting it to be buffed for a very long time. It's one of my favorite things in Diablo 3. So the 2-set bonus has been increased from 100% to 500%. So with fully ancient out character, you're looking at an over 5,000% damage increase, which is going to give us a lot of cool options for at least Torment 13. I think that for Witch Doctor, Spear Barrage builds can make a comeback with this especially. But what I'm looking at is, you know, the old Locust Swarm Walker Witch Doctor should be able to do Torment 13 now, which is extremely exciting for me. I think I've probably had that as a request more than any other build I've ever made, as far as wanting people wanting it to get into Torment 13 and asking if it's possible to do. And it hasn't been, it just wasn't powerful enough. But if this change goes live, then it definitely should be able to do it. But there should be a lot of other cool T13 builds that come out of this. That's the thing about this patch. Yeah, it may look like just a bunch of damage number increases, and it is, but there should be a ton of build diversity that comes about because of the patch. So again, if you look through here, I mean, there's just tons of buffs to everything. Legacy of Raykor gets a buff, Immortal King's Call, Might of the Earth, Wrath of the Wastes, Crusader, Thorns, Roland's, and Seeker of the Light are getting buffed. Demon Hunter basically buffs across the board. Monk, Uliana's, Inna's, Monkey King's Garb, Raiment of a Thousand Storms. Necro, only thing that's getting buffed is Trags. Kind of shows you how OP Necro has been all this time. Now, for the juicy stuff that I care about, well, let's see. So Wizard, Talrasha, Delseers, and Veers. Alright, Witch Doctor. So, Spirit of Arakir is basically getting doubled. Okay, so, I mean, it's already a very powerful build, but it should bring it up with some of these other builds that are getting buffed, and then the builds that are already really powerful. One of the best solo pushing builds, if not the best, it typically gets #1. Most people push with Firebats, Arakir. Helltooth is getting basically the same treatment, going up to 9,000%. So your T13 Helltooth pet builds are going to be even better. Not that they needed to be. They already one-shot just about everything as it is once you get to a certain point in the season with good gear. But, you'll be able to push even higher in solo GRs with Helltooth pets. Now, Jade is getting a pretty sexy buff here. So the 6-piece is going from 1,650 seconds to 10,000 seconds, which is absolutely crazy. Jade should just be killing it if this actually goes live this way. I doubt that Jade will go live with this number. I'd be pretty surprised. I think that's a little bit too high. Of course, I'll have to get into the PTR tomorrow. It drops on the 21st and see how Jade actually feels. But that's pretty nuts, 10,000 seconds. And then Zuni's going from 5,500% to 15,000%. Again, another really crazy buff. I would love to see Zuni be the Dagger of Darts Carnival set, It's been a long time since Carnival was a thing and was good, and I miss it quite a bit. So I think Karn could probably work with this buff, but again, Gargantuans are probably still just going to be better with Zuni. And then at that point, you've got 2 sets that are running Gargs still, which is kind of irritating. But, at least as far as pushing builds go, hopefully this throws Spirit Barrage, Legacy of Nightmares back in the mix a little bit, I'm hoping, with the Legacy of Nightmares buff. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are going to be looking for bigger changes than just numbers like this. And I am too. I'd love to see some new legendaries. I'd love to see a lot of the really bad legendaries changed, some of them buffed, things like the Scrimshaw, so we can get Zombie Bears back, the Sulong Diviner for Acid Cloud, things like that. I'd love to see Helltooth actually be a caster set again. Just little minor tweaks and buffs here and there. I'd love to see all that stuff. But just keep in mind this is a step in the right direction. At least we're getting content for D3. If it's still a game that you enjoy playing. And again, it looks like on paper that they're just going way overboard with the buffs. But they're actually really just bringing the majority of these sets in line with the already OP powerful sets. So anyways, guys, I don't want to make this a super long video. I'm kind of rambling on at this point, I feel like, but I'm actually excited for this patch. I know that there's a lot of just kind of bad air around Blizzard and Diablo right now, and I get it. I'm angry too. I'm irritated by a lot of things that are going on, and it seems like this patch, I don't know how much of this they already had that they were working on, or if this is kind of just a response to all the backlash from what happened at BlizzCon. They're just trying to kind of calm down the Diablo community a little bit and the D3 players. But as far as how fun of a patch this could be and how meta shifting this patch could be, it could be one of the best patches we ever got for D3, potentially. So don't look at it as just numbers, but look at it at what it's actually going to do for the game and what it's going to do for the fun factor of playing the game and build diversity. Action RPGs are all about build diversity, and there should be a ton of it in this patch. So anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry I've been MIA for so long. I really appreciate all you guys hanging out and still watching my videos after all this time. If you still enjoy Diablo 3, I would say maybe give this a chance. I mean, it goes on the PTR tomorrow, and you can play it on the PTR if you want. If you're not sure if it's going to be fun or if you're going to like it before the season even starts. So anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.